Well, in Britain, an anti-austerity and anti-war political figure is elected as the leader of the opposition Labour Party.
And I'm therefore delighted to declare Jeremy Corbyn elected as leader of the Labour Party.
Speaking after his overwhelming victory, Corbyn took a swipe at the political and economic policies pursued by the ruling Conservative Party, also known as the Tories.
Grotesque threats to our environment. This week, the Tories will show what they're really made of. On Monday, they have the trade union bill designed to undermine even the ILO conventions and shackle democratic unions and destroys another element of democracy within our society. We have to oppose that. They're also pushing the welfare reform bill, which will bring such misery and poverty to so many of the poorest in our society. I want us as a movement to be proud, strong and able to stand up and say we want to live in a society where we don't pass by on the other side of those people rejected by an unfair welfare system. Instead, we reach out to end the scourge of homelessness and desperation that so many people face in our society. We're strong enough and big enough and able to do that. That is what we're about.
He vowed to help bring a better future for British people. The new opposition leader has also denounced those countries that launch wars and bring about bitterness and despair for other nations.
Going to war creates a legacy of bitterness and problems. Let us be a force for change in the world, a force for humanity in the world, a force for peace in the world, and a force that recognises we cannot go on like this.
He also voiced support for desperate asylum seekers who are fleeing wars and heading for Europe from the Middle East and Africa. Corbyn made the remarks after his overwhelming victory in the party's leadership election, while the new Labour Party leader managed to secure 60% of the vote. The election was held after Ed Miliband resigned following Labour's losses back in the May elections. We're going to cross over to London, joined by Press TV's very own Roshan Mohammed Saleh. Roshan, good to have you with us. Quite a victory for Jeremy Corbyn today. 60%, almost 60%, I believe, of the vote. Beyond expectations, you would say? And tell me the significance of it.
Yeah, I think it was. I thought that he would easily carry the first round of voting, but when it came to the second round of voting and third round of voting, when the votes were, the second and third preferences were redistributed, I thought that perhaps the race would be a bit closer, even though we all thought that he was the favourite to win. But in the end, it was a landslide in the first round, so the vote didn't even go to the second round or the third round or the fourth round. So an absolute landslide victory. Obviously, Jeremy Corbyn's supporters are jubilant, and there are many of those supporters, especially young people who've registered as Labour Party members. I think there's a general consensus that there is an anti-Tory majority in this country, but they just can't win elections because the Tories get their core vote out, the 25% of the country perhaps that support them, and the 75% that don't can't unite around one party or one figure. So perhaps it's a significant moment in British politics now that the cosy consensus between the mainstream parties, especially Labour and Conservatives, which existed in the Tony Blair years, the Gordon Brown years, the David Cameron years, where you couldn't tell a difference between the Labour Party and the Conservative Party, the two main political parties in this country. I think those days are over now, and under Jeremy Corbyn, anti-war, anti-austerity, anti-establishment, there will be clear blue waters for the first time in decades between the two main parties in Parliament, and British voters will have a genuine choice.
Well, Well, let's look at that. You talked about British voters will have a choice because we have seen this sort of malaise with the British electorate because, as you just said, basically they didn't see a difference between the parties. Do you think that this is something that is going to actually reignite, if you want to say, this type of political energy inside of the UK once again?
I think it is an exciting moment for many people. Obviously, we've seen this before, maybe with Barack Obama in 2008. People had unrealistic expectations of what he was going to achieve, and that's been borne out by his presidency. And perhaps the same is true of Jeremy Corbyn. Ultimately, one man cannot change an entire system. However, it is also true that the Labour Party, which started as a party which had a real kind of grassroots feel to it, represented the masses, born out of the workers' movement. It had drifted to the right after the 1980s. Tony Blair took it towards a neoliberal economic worldview, a imperialistic worldview with the Iraq War, which is opposed by the majority of the British population. And now the feeling is that the Labour Party will move more back to the left under Jeremy Corbyn. His supporters are definitely jubilant. The Blairites and the Brownites, the right wing of the Labour Party, they're crying today. A lot of them are already saying that they won't serve under Jeremy Corbyn. Some of them are probably doubtless planning to undermine his every step in the next few months. And the Conservative Party, I think they have mixed feelings. Some of them might be happy that Jeremy Corbyn has won because they feel that he's not unelectable. He's unelectable. But I think a lot of them feel that actually you shouldn't ever underestimate Jeremy Corbyn, and he has several years. There is a groundswell of anti-Tory opinion in this country. A lot of people very unhappy with the general election results, and those are the kind of people that could win an election for Jeremy Corbyn in 2020. Okay,
definitely an interesting situation on the ground there, and one to keep our eyes on very closely right here at Press TV. Thanks so much, Roshan Mohammed Saleh, for that update out of London.